Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's your first time watching, welcome. So I wanted to talk today about shipping your pet from either the United States to Central America or from Central America back to the United States. I wanted to talk about my experience with my animals when I came to Belize. But first, before we get into that video, I want to show you what's been going around here about the last month. There's always, in my opinion, there's always, three sides to every story. There's yours, theirs, and then there's always the truth. It sucks that people lost their pet in the care of somebody else. So let's go ahead and watch this clip. Just let this sink in, what this person's saying, and then we'll get into the video with what my experience is and what my opinion is with doing that.
This is Matthew Myers, and he is one of the last people that saw my dog alive. I'm going to try to remain composed because I am both livid and heartbroken, and I have a lot to speak about in this video. I'm going to try to keep it concise and just try to give you the rundown. This is my sweet boy buddy. And he died last week on Sunday. He was being transported from Belize to the US by Best Friends Pet Transportation. Matthew Myers, that I just showed you, is the owner of this company. It started with them picking him up, I believe 3 days late, and the entire time the communication was absolutely terrible. They sent no pictures or videos of my dog. They wouldn't barely send messages. My mom had to hound them to get any sort of information out of them, and even then they were being very cryptic and very vague and not answering questions. Buddy was getting up there in age, but he had a lot of life left in him. He was healthy. He had no health issues. They left Friday night, and my dog was dead by Sunday afternoon. They claim he was fine. They claim he was all okay. And then they just went to the back and he was laying there dead. I find that hard to believe given that they would not send pictures or videos of him. Not only that, it took them 17 hours to get him to a crematorium. They were driving around with my poor boy's carcass for 17 hours. Even when they got to the crematorium, my parents didn't know. They had to contact the crematorium themselves because Matt did not tell me that they had dropped my dog off, my dead dog. And you might be thinking it's the stress of the road trip that did it to him, but no. But he was accustomed to road trips. He had been on them many times. Here he is with my parents, happy and smiling. And once we started talking to more people, we realized that we weren't the only victims of Best Friends Pet Transportation. Here's Jill. Her dogs were on the same trip as Buddy, and it was a bad scene. The communication was horrible. Matt lied about where he was. I had air tags on my dogs, so I was able to track them, but the trip took far longer than it should have. I had to get my dogs at the border because I did not trust him anymore, and I just wanted my dogs back and out of his care. They were full of piss, and their crates were both full of piss, and I was so disappointed. She did a lot of research on him. She went to San Pedro, which is another town in Belize, to do more research and talk to people about him. Here are some texts between another woman, Desiree, and Jill, which I just showed you on the last screen. Desiree lost 3 out of 4 of her dogs. 3 out of 4 of her dogs died in Matthew Myers' care. And she says that she paid $3,000 total. He didn't ask for additional, but she gave him money for the emergency vet. And this is Jill in the purple. Now these are texts between Matthew Myers and Jill. You can see I'm a very reasonable person. Obviously, I did not charge Desiree, and I would also never charge Lisa. Lisa's my mother. He charged us, and he knows damn well that he charged us because he had to set up a whole new bank account to receive payment from us because we could not Cash App or Venmo him because we're Canadian.
All right, guys, as you can see from the video, the young woman was pretty distraught, upset about, losing her dog. From the information that I've been able to find, it was actually her parents that shipped the dog Buddy with this particular company. And like I said, this isn't the only company out there. There's actually quite a few of these companies out there. So I want to go into my experience first before I go into the whole detail of just the whole thing on that video. So in my experience, when me and my wife were leaving Atlanta and we packed up everything, my animals were distraught. Had a dog and 2 cats we brought with us here to Belize, and we drove the entire way, and it took us, we took our time, but it still took almost a week. Our animals were distraught from the very beginning, just, packing up the house and moving. I mean, they were in stress. They didn't know what was going on. And for you animal lovers out there, you know that when you move or when you do something like that, your animal gets stressed just going through that, let alone being on a road trip or what have you. So, my experience driving from Atlanta to Belize with the animals was they were in distress the entire way. They even, getting them out of the vehicle to use the restroom and stuff, they were confused, they were skittish, they were scared. There was new sights, new smells. They didn't act themselves. Even as far as eating, they didn't want to eat their regular food. I had to buy them, what I call people food, and, pretty much calm them down when we had them inside of the room wherever we stopped and stayed, just to get them to eat and drink. When they were in the vehicle, they didn't want to eat and drink. They just kind of kept their heads down. They knew that something was going on, something wasn't right, and they were scared. And you could absolutely tell that they were scared. And I felt so bad for them. And, that was the first time that I'd had my animals on a long road trip like that. I mean, I had taken them to the river and before, but when you're in your hometown and you're with your animals and you do something like that, they get used to a routine. They know what's happening. They know what's going on. But yeah, it was a job to get them to eat, to get them to drink, to, try to calm them down every single day when we got somewhere. And even when we got to Belize, one of my cats, when we first got here, she got out the door and she disappeared for 3 days. We finally found her, but she was hiding up underneath somebody's shed. She was petrified. She didn't want to move. And it took our other animals about 6 months, to be honest with you, to get used to where we were, to understand that we weren't giving them away, that, they were still loved and wanted. And of course, we treat our animals like our kids. So to think that animals don't go into distress when you are just simply moving, let's say in the States, from an apartment to a house or right down the road, absolutely. So that being said, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but man, I don't trust my pets with anybody. Nobody. There's an old saying, nobody is going to treat your animals the way that you would. Nobody's going to treat your property the way that you would. Nobody's going to treat your vehicle the way that you would. It's just how it is. It is so hard to actually trust somebody. I found that out the hard way by using a service called Rover in the States. Went on vacation and trusted these people with my dog. They had the audacity to send me the same pictures every single day as if I wouldn't catch on that they weren't walking my dog. When I got back, my dog was horrified. So yes, it sucks that somebody lost their dog. And apparently this isn't the first one. But you have to understand, when you give your dog to a stranger as you're flying back to wherever you came from in hopes that your best friend, your companion, the one that misses you more than anywhere in the world, the only thing that's going through your pet's mind is that you just ditched them. You gave them up. And I know people are going to have opinions about it. This is my opinion. When you give your animal to a stranger, especially to be driven back somewhere and they're around a bunch of other dogs and all those animals are in distress. So you got a van full of distressed animals trying to figure out what they did wrong, what's happening to them, where they're going. You wonder why they won't eat. You wonder why they won't drink. You wonder why they're not acting normal. And you think that somebody, think about this, you think that somebody in a van that has 15 or 16 animals is going to pull over every 2 hours to take every single animal out of there, to walk it, to go to the bathroom? These dogs don't even want to go to the bathroom. And the only reason, to be honest with you, why I decided to do this video is because you just got to think about it, man. Would you trust your kid would you give your kid to a total stranger to drive him back from Central America to the States? Or would you give your kid in the States to a complete stranger to have him driven all the way to Central America? That's why I said I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here, man, but come on. I mean, my honest opinion, if you want to ship your animal with somebody that you don't know, what can happen will happen. And unfortunately it happened, and it sucks that it happened. It sucks that somebody has to go through that. But you know, as far as placing the blame, and I understand that emergencies and things like that come up. I'm not saying that. There is actual emergencies that come up to where you may have no other choice. But man, if you do this on a routine basis, the stress that you put your animal through just by itself just boggles my head. Why would you do that? Why would you literally, like I said, if you wouldn't trust your own kid with somebody for a week, why would you trust your animal? And I'm telling you, your pet has no clue what is going on. None. As far as your pet is concerned, you ditched it. You gave it up, and it's in a van with somebody it doesn't know around a bunch of other animals that it doesn't know. And what do you think can happen? Stress. Doesn't eat, doesn't drink. Dehydration kills fast. You know, so sometimes it's better just not to bring your pet wherever you go. Or if that's how you live your life, maybe you should just take on the responsibility that you took when you took on a pet and treat it like your kid, and not travel as much when you have a responsibility like that. And like I said, these are just my own opinions. You can say whatever you want in the comments. You know, I'm always open to comments. You guys know that. But like I said, this is my own opinion. It was hard enough driving from Atlanta to Belize with my own animals. If my own animals were in distress in the vehicle with me because they didn't know what was going on, I can only imagine what somebody's animal would be going through in a vehicle that it doesn't know the person, it doesn't know the other animals in there. And I'm telling you right now, guys, I don't care what company it is, I don't care what BS they try to, these people are in it to make money. They're not in it because they love animals. At the end of the day, they're doing what they do because there's people out there that are going to pay them a boatload of money to get their dog from point A to point B. And let me tell you what, once they have that money, yeah, everything's great. You know, I got to tell you too, those people took it a lot better than I did, because when it comes to my animals are like my kids. I'd be doing a lot more than putting it on social media or a different platform, but that's just me. So, you know, people handle things differently. But yeah, like I said, if you're someone who's really thinking about or considering moving your dog with you, you got to think about that. It's not just putting your dog in a van with somebody and have him driven down. And it's going to be the same thing with a plane. When I was younger, I worked at an international airport right there in Tampa. And I've seen distressed dogs get off planes before too. Yeah, like I said, it all falls down to common sense. If you wouldn't trust giving your kid to a total stranger to drive 3,000 plus miles, why would you do it with your animal? Trust me, people, your animal is going to think that you ditched it and abandoned it. And I know that there's a lot of people that are going to say, hey, I used the service and it was great. And that's awesome. You used somebody's service and it worked out great for you. It still doesn't mean that your dog wasn't in distress the entire time. It does not mean that. And it sure doesn't mean that other people haven't lost their dog in the process. So, like I said, I just want to come on here, ramble about that. That's my opinion. If you're going to bring your animal with you, drive them yourself. Fly with them. That's your kid. And if you can't, maybe you just don't need to go. Period. Maybe you just don't need to go. Maybe it's not that important. Because I know that I don't like putting distress and things on my best companions and one that are, happier to see me. There's no saying, lock your wife and your dog in a trunk overnight. And when you open up that trunk in the morning, see who's going to be happiest to see you. I guarantee you it's going to be the dog. It's not going to be your wife. Yeah. So my honest opinion, don't do it. It's not worth it. What can happen will happen. And like I said, nobody is going to take care of your dog the way that you will. Absolutely not. Even, best friends, things happen. It's not theirs. It's not theirs. People are going to treat something that isn't theirs different than if it was theirs. If you lend somebody your car, somebody's going to treat it different than if it was theirs. I bet if you rent a car, you treat that vehicle a whole lot different than you do your own vehicle. That's what I'm trying to say. Common sense. This ain't trying to be devil's advocate, but, come on now. It ain't that hard to figure out. People are in this business to make money, not to take a bunch of selfies with your pet as they drive through Canada, the States, Central America, and send them to you. It's hard enough trying to keep your eyes on the road and figure out what you're doing and the route you're taking, besides pulling over every 2 hours and having to deal with a van load of dogs and smelling like piss and crap. And I wouldn't want to do that. So just food for thought. Hopefully this helps somebody out there think twice before you ship your animal with somebody that you don't know, because come on, wake up. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please hit the subscribe button. I got some newer videos coming out. I know a lot of you have been asking about our property and our house, how much did that cost us and everything. I'm getting ready to drop a video on that, but it's another beautiful day here in Belize. Stay informed. Information's power. And if you are going to use a service like that, man, when I tell you research somebody, you got to research somebody. You got to hit every back hole, rabbit hole avenue to research somebody. I can leave a ton of good reviews on somebody's site that says it was great, but at the end of the day, it wasn't. So, all right, everybody, I'm winded, long walk. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care of your pets. They're your best friend.